Thank you for your interest in the Westvale Plaza area pedestrian and bicycle mobility assessment. The Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council, or SMTC, is conducting the study on the behalf of the town of Geddes. This presentation will provide a brief overview of the study and provide details on potential recommendations that will be discussed at an upcoming public workshop, which will be held on November 16th. More details will be provided at the end of this presentation. The SMTC is the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Syracuse region, which includes all of Onondaga County and towns in Oswego and Mazin counties. The SMTC's role is to foster continuous, cooperative, and comprehensive planning. This includes developing a long-range transportation plan, prioritizing funding for infrastructure, and conducting studies of specific transportation issues at the community level. For more information, see our website www.smtcmpo.org. So what is a Metropolitan Planning Organization? A Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, is a transportation policymaking and planning body made up of representatives of local, state, and federal government and transportation authorities. The Policy Committee is the designated MPO. The Policy Committee includes 13 voting members and 6 non-voting members, as shown in the chart here. The MPO is charged with the comprehensive, cooperative, and continuous transportation planning process for a metropolitan area. The SMTC has been asked by the town of Geddes to evaluate issues and identify opportunities to help improve roadway safety, improve pedestrian and bicycle access, improve ridership at existing Central stops, and to increase connectivity to the regional trail network, with the overall aim of improving access to the Westvale Plaza area. A public workshop was held in July of 2023 aimed at discussing the land use and zoning regulations in the Westvale Plaza area. The Joint Comprehensive Plan released by the town and village in 2019 highlighted the commercial district around the plaza as a potential site for mixed-use development in the future. SMTC staff developed concept plans to illustrate what this type of development could look like if there is future interest in redeveloping the plaza, and to assess the impact of that development on the transportation system. Based on feedback from attendees, some mixed-use development is supported for the plaza and some surrounding parcels. Attendees noted a preference to keep denser development within the commercial district and preserve the existing neighborhoods further west on West Genesee Street. Draft concept designs showcased a transition from more urban-style developments to developments with more suburban residential character. Draft concepts also looked to create a town center, as is emphasized in the new Onondaga County Comprehensive Plan, Plan On. These centers would be a mix of residential and commercial uses, which help create a more walkable environment. Discussions surrounding mobility within the study area also occurred. This included a focus on walking, cycling, and transit users in an area predominantly built for car access. Workshop attendees noted a preference for separated facilities like protected bike lanes and wider sidewalks. They also noted a desire for aesthetic improvements like street trees, flower beds, and brick pavers. Overall, people want to feel comfortable getting around, whether they are in a car, riding a bike, or walking. With this feedback in mind, SMTC developed draft concepts for the roadway network aimed at connecting all users to and from this commercial center. We'll begin on the northern end of the study area on Charles Ave. Charles Ave is the most direct route connecting Westvale Plaza with Milton Ave, the two commercial centers within the village of Solvay, as well as a direct connection to the Empire State Trail. Due to these connections, the street is a prime candidate to create a low-stress corridor for people on foot and cyclists. A few ideas for this corridor are focused around its intersections. The narrow road, low traffic volumes, and character of the surrounding homes already make Charles Ave an appealing place for people to ride their bikes and walk. Expanded sidewalks would allow for easier, more comfortable movements for people on foot. Painted bump outs would narrow the roadway further at intersections, slowing vehicles and reducing crossing distances. Painted bump outs are popular in cities across the country as they add color and personality to a neighborhood while creating safer environments at lower costs. Speed cushions may also be used, slowing vehicles prior to intersections while still allowing for emergency vehicles, such as fire trucks, to pass through at full speed. The city of Syracuse is currently conducting a pilot program using speed cushions on various neighborhood streets. Moving further south to the commercial corridor between Driscoll Ave and West Genesee Street, the character of the corridor changes. More commercial, more conflict points, and a need to improve access for people outside of vehicles. While the roadway itself is fairly narrow, the lack of curbs results in the adjacent parking lots blending into the road, creating a wide open feeling for most of the block. This lack of curbing also means a lack of access management. Without managing these movements, the unpredictability of vehicle movements can become dangerous to people walking, riding bikes, and driving through the area. Defining access management along this corridor is essential to improving mobility. This can be done through the use of some curbing where drainage allows and planting grass buffers. Due to truck traffic, with some utilizing very low beds, speed cushions are not recommended for this block. Instead, chicanes, which shift and tighten the roadway at key locations, may be used to preserve slower speeds while still allowing for trucks to navigate the road. Due to grade issues and the amount of access points needed on the eastern side of the roadway, a sidewalk is recommended for the western side. Closer to Gas Plaza, a sidewalk is recommended for both sides and for additional access into the plaza. In order to improve access, a mid-block crossing with bump outs, which will tighten the roadway to reduce the crossing distance and slow vehicles as they approach, is recommended. Mid-block crossings like this can be found throughout the Syracuse region. Shifting gears a little, improving access to individuals who ride transit is also vital to the future of this commercial center. Westvale Plaza itself is served by two bus stops in each direction, with the stops at the Charles Ave Montrose Ave intersection seeing higher usage than the Fay Road stops. Like all transit systems, the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in dramatic drops in ridership numbers. Since 2020, ridership on Route 74, which runs along West Genesee Street, has been slower to recover than the overall Syracuse system. Even with this drop-off in ridership, the stops still rank in the top 25% of all stops in the Syracuse network. In order to better serve riders through a more efficient route, consider the consolidation of stops into two Farside stops at Charles Ave and Montrose Ave. Farside stops allow buses to move through the intersection before stopping and increase the visibility of riders as they cross the street behind the bus. With fewer stops in the area, riders will concentrate at the new stops. To improve rider experiences, the town and village, along with business owners, may choose to work with Centro to install shelters and benches for waiting passengers. Now we move south of West Genesee Street to look at Montrose Ave. Many of the same techniques recommended for Charles Ave continue along Montrose Ave. Similar to Charles Ave, Montrose Ave is a fairly narrow street with low traffic volumes, which acts as a direct link to the Westvale Plaza area. As a result, the recommendations for Montrose Ave continue with the same techniques as discussed for Charles Ave. Expanding sidewalks to 5 feet wide, the use of painted bump outs to narrow travel lanes and reduce crossing distances, and speed cushions to slow vehicles as they approach intersections. By using similar techniques, both streets begin to feel tied together as a cohesive greenway network for nearly 1.5 miles. On the northern end, near West Genesee Street, we again see a lack of access management around the commercial businesses. Defining driveways and curb cuts along this portion of the corridor helps to make movements more predictable while reducing the number of conflict points between pedestrians, cyclists, and vehicles. One key element of this assessment is to identify connections both to the existing trail network, such as the Empire State Trail, as well as to population and job centers. With this in mind, Salisbury Road, which connects directly into the city of Syracuse and into Burnett Park, has been identified as a promising connection for residents of the town, village, and city, helping to promote cycling and walking trips for recreation, shopping, and working opportunities. The route may encompass both on-street and off-street facilities. While the roadway itself is a direct connection into the city and allows for convenient commuting in both directions, it also has some safety issues that must be addressed. Many of the crashes recorded along the corridor are a result of poor sightlines in some locations and the presence of deer. To address these safety concerns and reflect the preferences noted at our public workshop in July, buffered and protected facilities are envisioned along the length of the corridor, from South Orchard Road east to Avery Ave, similar to the Empire State Trail facilities seen here along Towpath Road in DeWitt. Based on the available space, the path changes from an off-road shared-use path through the West Scott Reservoir to an on-road protected path on Salisbury, 8 to 10 feet in width and a 2-foot wide striped buffer and vertical delineators. The on-road segments would also narrow the travel lanes for cars down to 10 feet, providing an additional traffic calming measure. As we move down the corridor, the path passes several driveways, creating conflict points between drivers and path users. Conflict zones exist on nearly all bicycle and pedestrian facilities, even on the highly protected facilities like the Onondaga Creek Walk along West Street in the city of Syracuse, as shown here. To address these areas, the protected path must drop its buffer on either end of the conflict zone, allowing vehicles to cross the path. Striped painted lines, preferably green, should continue through the conflict zone, drawing attention for both the driver and the cyclist or pedestrian using the path, and alerting them to potential conflicts. The same techniques would continue west along Salisbury Road until you approach the entrance to Sacred Heart Cemetery. At this point, the path again switches to an off-road facility. Shifting back to an off-road path similar to many sections of the Empire State Trail, as shown here, is desirable for a few different reasons. The roadway narrows as it heads east towards the city, and is the most prominent location of deer crossings in the study area. These two characteristics make it more desirable to separate facilities entirely to improve safety. Just before the cemetery entrance, the path would shift north into the grassy shoulder that exists between the roadway and the cemetery fence, removing potential conflicts where sightlines are poor and providing additional space to maneuver around deer as needed. The off-road path would continue eastward until it reaches Avery Ave. Another ongoing SMTC study, the West Side Trail, is evaluating potential connections from this location deeper into the city. The intersection at Avery Ave allows for direct connections into the Tipperary Hill neighborhood. Path users can choose to either continue using the street network or venture through Burnett Park. To better facilitate these movements, the existing intersection should be squared off. Specifically, the northeastern and southeastern corners should be extended so that drivers must approach the intersection in a more visible manner. This also forces drivers leaving Burnett Park to make a two-step turn to enter the intersection, where it currently is a more ambiguous movement. With that, We would like to invite you to our public workshop from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Thursday, November 16th, in the Cherry Road Elementary cafeteria. The workshop will include stations discussing both corridors presented here. You can stop by at any time during the event to chat with SMTC staff about this study and provide your thoughts. If you have any questions prior to this meeting or are unable to attend but would still like to provide input, please feel free to contact us with the information on your screen. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you on November 16th.